All right, last year we did this and it went quite horribly. So this year we're going to make another absolute failure of a bracket. But you know what? NCAA tournament brackets are really fun. So we're going to do it again. Yeah, that's right. As I adjust my light, make sure you can see the bracket. I believe the whole thing is on here. But of course, we have 64 teams, as always, in the NCAA tournament, plus the 4 play-in games. I will be posting this. It's currently Monday night. We'll be posting this on Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, so before this. So let's pick the play-in games. All right, we won't make this too long, but I'm going to go with Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. A&M, Texas A&M. I'm a Texas fan, by the way. I have low expectations, but yeah, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. By the way, Texas A&M, speaking of Texas A&M schools, Texas A&M should have made the tournament. That's just my opinion. But they were close. But I guess that 8-9 game loss streak in the middle of the season did not help them. They missed the tournament. So, yeah, we got Texas A&M, Corpus Christi for that play-in. This one is tough. Wyoming, Indiana. Wyoming, a really good year. But Indiana closed out the season strong. Almost made it to the Big Ten championship game. Lost to the Big Ten champions by just a few points, 3 or 4 points there. So, you know, really good season for them. Looked good at times, but 20-13, but it's still Indiana. I'm going to go with Indiana here. Kind of a risky pick, maybe. But that should be a pretty good game to watch on, what day is that? March 15th. So I believe that's tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this. Then we have Wright State versus Bryant. I believe Bryant has the top scorer in the country. So we'll pick them. And then Rutgers versus Notre Dame. That's another tough one. We're just going to guess on this. We're going to go with Rutgers. That was a tough one, too. Anyways, let's get to the big bracket. The one with the 64. Obviously, Gonzaga is going to make it through the first round of the tournament. Gonzaga makes it through the Zags, who I saw win the West Coast championship. Was there for that game. I believe they won their first game. Boise State, Memphis, that's a tough one. Memphis has some quality wins. Believe they beat Houston during the regular season in the, in the American Conference. So they got a good one there. They've looked pretty good at times. They got a pretty cool court, by the way. Random side note. But Boise State, obviously 27-7, good record. But I'm going to go with Memphis here. 9 seed. All the 9-8 matchups, I mean, as they should be, are going to be, I think they're going to be really close this year. You got a lot of good teams playing each other. A lot of tough matchups that I could really see either team winning. And once again, that's how the 8-9 should be. 5-12, one of the most common upsets in the NCAA tournament. Uconn versus New Mexico State. Uconn's looked pretty good this year, so I'm going to put them through. But once again, that 5-12 is often a very tough matchup. So I don't expect Uconn to get through easily, but I do expect Uconn to get through, have some really good wins this year in a very tough conference, the Big East, who sent quite a few teams to the tournament. Big win early in the year against Auburn, who is currently a 2 seed. Next up, we have Arkansas and Vermont, and at times Arkansas's looked really good this year. They have some really good wins. They beat Auburn. They beat some other good teams. I want to say Tennessee or Kentucky, maybe. But some tough losses as well. They've lost to Texas A&M twice. Lost to Alabama, who's kind of been an inconsistent team this year, but they did make the tournament, so you know that is a tournament team. But Vermont, that's a good team as well. It's a tough one. I'm going to go with Arkansas. Arkansas made a run last year. I'm going to put Arkansas through. So Arkansas, I think, makes it to the second round to play Uconn. A lot of these, this is, as usual, March Madness, so hard to pick each and every game. But we'll have Arkansas there. Alabama will play either Rutgers or Notre Dame, who I have Rutgers advancing. But really, once again, could see either of those teams making it. Alabama's a tough one because they've got some huge wins. They beat 3 teams that made the Final Four last year. They beat Gonzaga, they beat Baylor, and they beat Houston. They have some good SEC wins. As I said earlier, Arkansas, but they have some pretty not great losses. Lost to Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. They lost to Georgia, who's, I think they were the worst team in the SEC. They only had 6 wins all season, so Alabama's kind of all over the place. Oh, man, this is tough. It really is, but I'm going to put Alabama in, but let me tell you, I could easily see them losing. Anyways, we'll move on. Texas Tech, Montana State. Texas Tech, one of the best teams in the country defensively. I think they advanced. They've looked good all season under first-year coach Mark Adams. After losing Chris Beard, they've just really looked good all year long, but I expect them to make a run this year. Michigan State, Davidson. Davidson lost in the A-10 title game to Richmond. Go Spiders, by the way. But, you know, they got a tough matchup with Michigan State. Michigan State in the Big Ten. The Big Ten had some good teams this year. Purdue, Iowa. So, you know, they've played some really tough teams this year, but Davidson's had a good year as well. This is a toss-up. I feel like I've said all these games are going to be toss-up except for, like, 2 of them. But I'm actually going to give the edge to Davidson here. I'm going to give a double-digit seed. I almost put Dadison, but I'm going to put Davidson in there. Duke versus CSU Fullerton. Coach K's final season, Coach K's final tournament. Feels like everything's gone wrong. Not gone wrong, but, you know, the last of everything he's lost. The last home game he lost to North Carolina. The last ACC title game he lost. But his last first-round game, I expect him to win. I think Duke advances to the second round of the tournament. Moving on to the East region of the NCAA tournament, right down here. I think Baylor advances. I mean, all these 1 seeds, it's a 1/16. It's only happened once in like 140 games in history or something, so Baylor. North Carolina Marquette, I've honestly been thinking about this one the most, and this is tough. Shaka Smart, he was at Texas. I love him. I think he's a great guy. He's a solid coach, but at Texas, he could not get out of the first round. He made a Final Four run with VCU, a decade ago. But at Texas, for some reason, it just never worked out, and he could never win a tournament game. Even last year when they were a 3 seed and played Abilene Christian in the first round, he couldn't get it done. However, though, at Marquette, he still seems to be doing pretty good. Has some good wins, was in a very tough conference in the Big East. But they are playing North Carolina. North Carolina under first-year coach Hubert Davis. It's going to be tough for Shaka. I really want to put him through, but North Carolina, they've got some big wins this year. They beat Duke at Duke. I think they advance. St. Mary's versus Wyoming or Indiana. I picked Indiana up here in the play-in game. St. Mary's, a really good team. They beat the overall 1 seed in the regular season, Gonzaga. They've looked good pretty much all year, 25-7. Obviously, I think the WCC put 3 or 4 teams in the tournament. San Francisco's in there, I believe. I can't think, maybe BYU. No, I don't think BYU made it. Anyways, that's another potential upset with the 5-12, especially Indiana, looking good as of recent. But I'm going to put St. Mary's through. St. Mary's, they're a good team. They've proven that they can beat really good teams. Indiana has 2, but that's a toss-up. I'm going to put St. Mary's through, though I could definitely see that happening. UCLA versus Akron, I'm going to put UCLA through. But 4-13, that's been a common upset as well, especially in recent years. And then this one, Texas, Virginia Tech. Texas has not won a first-round tournament game in, I think, 7 or 8 years. It's been quite a while. Back when Cameron Ridley made a game winner against Arizona State to win a tournament game. They got a pretty bad matchup here. I mean, I'm a Texas fan. I want them to win so bad, but they're playing Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, arguably the hottest team in the country right now, just won the ACC and is an 11 seed somehow. They beat Duke by double digits. I think they beat them by almost 20. They beat North Carolina by almost 20. They are looking amazing right now. It's almost impossible to pick against them, and I'm a Texas fan, so Virginia Tech, I think they advance. Texas' first-round loss streak continues. First-year coach Chris Beard ends his first season with a disappointment. Purdue versus Yale. I think Purdue wins this one. The 3-14, I think they said there's been 4 or 5 straight years that there's been a 3-14 upset. It's always tough to predict, but don't think it happens on this side of the bracket. Murray State versus San Francisco is a difficult one. San Francisco really gave Gonzaga a run for their money in the West Coast Conference semifinals. But Murray State has been one of the best teams all year, has a really long winning streak, over 20 games. They're 30-2. That'll be a fun game, but I do think Murray State advances. So, yeah, we'll put Murray State through. And then I got Kentucky over St. Peter's, so Kentucky with the win there. But now we move over to this side of the bracket where we have the South and the Midwest. And, man, we have been going on already. This says 10 minutes. So, I think Arizona wins. Top scorer, I think this... Out of all the match, Arizona's such a good team defensively. Watched them in that Pac-12 championship game. They were blocking, it seemed like, everything. So, Bryant, if they do advance, their top scorer is it's gonna be a difficult challenge for him to score. But if he can go off, I still don't think it's gonna happen. But out of all of these matchups, I think that would potentially be the one to see a 116 upset. Even though it's only happened once in history. Seton Hall Tcu, a very tough matchup, but TCU has looked great as of late. They've beaten Kansas, they've beaten Texas Tech, had a big comeback against Texas in the Big 12 conference, the quarterfinals, so really big win there, but then unfortunately just couldn't get it done against Kansas. So, it's tough because Seton Hall, they're in the Big East. They've had some good wins this year as well, so this is... just like the other 8-9s I've talked about, a really tough one to pick here. But I think TCU gets it done. So we'll put TCU into the second round. Then we got Houston UAB. That's a 5-12. Houston made it to the Final Four last year. UAB's looking good right now. They just won Conference USA. I gotta say, I think this is the 5-12 we see happen. I got UAB advancing to the second round of the tournament. Houston's been good this year, but UAB just won the Conference USA tournament, and, they've been good this year. So, UAB. Illinois Chattanooga. Chattanooga won the Southern Conference on a last-second buzzer beater over Furman. That was a thrilling game if you didn't catch that one. They play Illinois, a Big Ten team who's been good all season long. That's another potential upset here. That's the 4-13. We've talked about how the 4-13 has become a little more common, as well as the 3-14. But last year, I think it was UNT and Purdue when the 13th seed of UNT beat Purdue. Am I going to pick another upset here? I am going to pick another upset here. I think Chattanooga upsets Illinois. That's right. We're going to have a 13 versus a 12 in the round of 32. Now we got Colorado State and Michigan. Michigan's 17-14. Not the greatest year. Juwan Howard kind of punched a Wisconsin assistant coach, so not a great year for them. There's been some controversy if they should have made the tournament or not. And, I feel like after saying all this and, talking to people about it, saying they shouldn't make it, they're going to end up blowing out Colorado State. But I am going to put Colorado State through. Tennessee versus Longwood. Gonna put Tennessee through. I think Tennessee was snubbed of a top 2 seed, but they've looked good. They looked really good in the SEC tournament, beat Kentucky in there. I think they beat Auburn earlier in the year. They've got some good wins, looking really good. Rick Barnes, really like that guy. He's a great coach, so I expect him to make it to the second round. Ohio State versus Loyola Chicago. Loyola Chicago lost their coach to Oklahoma, but they are once again really good. Made that Final Four run a few years ago. They play Ohio State. Ohio State, they've been a little inconsistent this year, but I'm going to put Loyola Chicago in there. So, Loyola Chicago. Then we got Delaware versus Vermont, and if there is a 2-15 upset, this would be the one. Delaware's been looking really good as of late. I think they were the 5 seed in their conference tournament, upset the 1 seed in their conference. I think that was Towson, and they advanced. They ended up going on to win that conference tournament, looking really good right now, but Villanova, I think they advanced. So Very tough matchup, obviously, but I think Villanova does advance. But if there is a 215, I think that would be the one. Kansas, I think they advance, so easy pick there. As I said, with all the 116s. San Diego State, Creighton, another tough one, but I'm going to go with San Diego State University, even though Creighton could very well get in there. Iowa versus Richmond, another 5-12. Actually, our final 5-12 matchup. In our 5-12s, we've only had one upset. We picked UAB to beat Houston, but we talked about the potential of Indiana or Wyoming beating St. Mary's. But could this be another one? Richmond just won the A10 Conference Championship, but Iowa just won the Big Ten. Both teams looking really good right now. Both teams on a little bit of a hot streak. I am going to have to give it to Iowa, though. Just won against a really good Purdue team. Providence versus South Dakota State. South Dakota State 30-4 on the year. Really good year. Providence 25-5, but not the greatest run in the conference tournament there. So, maybe they're cooling off just a little bit. They've looked really good at times this year, have wins against really good teams, obviously, in their conference, and I believe they beat Texas Tech earlier in the year. But I think it's going to be a really close one, but I'm going to put Providence through. Then we've got LSU Iowa State. This is a toss-up. It really is. It's all these 8-9s, or the 8-9s, the 6-11s, the 5-12s, they've all been toss-ups, it seems like, but this is tough because they've had some good wins, but they've had some bad losses. I could say the same for Iowa State. I'm going to give LSU the edge, though. I think I'm picking a lot of high seeds here, but I think LSU gets it done. They win right there. Wisconsin versus Colgate. I'm going to give the edge to Wisconsin, even though Colgate, I believe they got close to winning last year in a 3-14 matchup against Arkansas. Miami versus USC. We're going to go with Miami. I just flipped a coin in my head, and we're going to go Miami. Now we got Auburn, Jacksonville State. I think Auburn advances. They've cooled off quite a bit here at the second half of the season. I think they only had one loss in the first half. They got now 4 in the second half, so they've cooled off a bit. But there is my round of 32. Now, going back to the west side of the bracket, who makes the Sweet 16? Will it be Gonzaga or Memphis? I think it's going to be Gonzaga. Just a really good team once again. I think they're going to make another run, or at least attempt to make, obviously they're attempting to make a run, but I think they go make a pretty deep tournament run again. Is this the year? I don't know. I feel like every year's the year and they just can't get it done. Uconn versus Arkansas, two teams that have really good wins, have looked really good at times, but who is going to win this game? Arkansas, some big wins against, I think I said Tennessee and Auburn, maybe Kentucky. But Uconn, they've also beaten Auburn. They've been in the tough Big East Conference. This is tough. I'm going to go with Uconn. We're going to go with Uconn here. I think Uconn advances to the second round, or the third round, Sweet 16. Alabama versus Texas Tech. We talked about Alabama's inconsistencies, how good Tech is defensively. I think Texas Tech advances to the Sweet 16. And then Duke versus Davidson. This could be an upset. This could very well end Coach K's run in the tournament, but I think Coach K makes it to the Sweet 16 in his final run. Then we go on to Baylor versus North Carolina, and Baylor doesn't look as good as they did last year. Obviously, they're still a 1 seed, but they've had their struggles at times this year. But they're still a really good team. But I think either North Carolina or Marquette could give them a tough time in the round of 32. Obviously, North Carolina, first-year coach. They've got some good wins this year. They beat Duke at Duke and stuff. But Baylor, they've got some big wins as well. They beat Kansas. They play a lot of tough teams in the Big 12. It's a tough one. I'll say this is probably the toughest second-round matchup with a 1 seed. And I kind of want to pick North Carolina here. I can't remember who the 1 seed that was that lost in the second round last year, but I'm going to put Baylor in. We're going to put Baylor in. I really want to put North Carolina, but we're going to put Baylor in. Next up, we have St. Mary's versus UCLA. St. Mary's has looked good this year, but UCLA last year made a deep run as an 11 seed, and they've looked good this year too. Looked good at times in the Pac-12 championship game. I think UCLA wins. The matchup of the West Coast teams, I think UCLA wins. Down to Virginia Tech, Purdue, I think we see our first double-digit seed make it to the Sweet 16. I think Virginia Tech continues their hot streak on to the Sweet 16. They're looking really good right now. Purdue's been great this year. They've had a great run. Lost in the Big Ten championship game, but Virginia Tech's hot right now, so look out for them. Murray State, I really want to pick them against Kentucky. I mean, that's another team that's looked really good this year. Long winning streak, but Kentucky's been really good as well. I mean, I feel like you really could flip a coin at this. It's March Madness, but oh man, this is so tough. I'm actually gonna do it. I'm gonna pick the upset here. I think Murray State shocks Kentucky, as I only put one R in Murray. There's a second R there. I think they shock Kentucky in the second round and make it to the Sweet 16. Moving on to this side of the bracket, right side of the bracket, I think Arizona beats TCU. Really good team. I think Arizona wins. UAB versus Chattanooga, the 12 versus the 13. Ooh, man, this is tough. This is so tough. This is so fun to pick between these two. I really want to see both these teams make it. Only one of them can. Let's go with the Blazers. Let's go with UAB. I think, UAB. Shock the world, UAB. Colorado State versus Tennessee. Tennessee, once again, looking really good right now. I think Tennessee advances. Loyola Chicago versus Villanova. This is another potential upset right here, but I think Villanova advances. I think Loyola Chicago will give them a run, but I think Villanova advances. I think Kansas wins here. I think Iowa wins here. They're hot right now. They beat Providence. Could be a good game. I think Iowa wins, though. LSU versus Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin wins here. Reluctant to say that, but, they're going to go there. Auburn versus Miami. We're gonna go with Miami. We're gonna pick an upset there. Miami shocks them. Beats Auburn. We're down to the Sweet 16, and it's quite a unique one. We got a 1 seed, we got a 5 seed, a 3 seed, a 2 seed, a 1 seed, a 4 seed, an 11 seed, a 7 seed, a 1 seed, a 12 seed, a 3 seed, a 2 seed, a 1 seed, a 5 seed, a 3 seed, and a 10 seed. So, March Madness, everyone. These are all going to be so wrong, but get a good look at it before it is. On to the Elite Eight, Gonzaga. I think they make another run this year. Duke versus Texas Tech, I think, could be a really good matchup. Texas Tech's looked good all year, been one of the best teams defensively. Duke, they're trying to make one last run for Coach K. I think this is the end of the line for Coach K. I think Texas Tech tops them. Texas Tech in the Elite Eight. Baylor versus UCLA. I think Baylor's run ends here. I said they were going to have a close one against North Carolina. I think their luck runs out here. I think UCLA advances to the Elite Eight, and they will play Virginia Tech. I am on this Virginia Tech hype train. I've gone too far at this point. I think they end Murray State's long win streak, and they beat them to advance to the Elite Eight. This side of the bracket, I think UAB's magical run ends here. Arizona tops them. Right here, I think Tennessee upset. I guess it would be an upset in terms of seeding, but I think Tennessee's better than Villanova. Tennessee's looked really good recently, have some huge wins this season. But, yeah, I got Tennessee in the Elite Eight, beating Villanova. Kansas versus Iowa could be a really good game. Both of these teams won their conferences, both the big conferences, the Big 12 and the Big 10. But I think Kansas wins. I really do. They've looked good all year long. They've got some huge wins. They've beaten Texas Tech twice. They've beaten Baylor. They've beaten someone else in there. They played in their non-conference. I can't remember who at the moment, but Kansas has looked really good. Miami, Wisconsin. I think it's going to be Wisconsin advancing. I think Miami's magical run ends there. So in the Elite Eight, we've got a 1 seed, a 3 seed, a, what did I say here, a 4, a 5, a 4 seed, an 11 seed, a 1 seed, a 3 seed, a 1 seed, a 3 seed. Back over here, Texas Tech versus Gonzaga. I feel like they played in the tournament 3 or 4 times the last few tournaments. Texas Tech, as good as they are, Gonzaga, they got a lot of experienced players on that team. They've got a lot of really good players. So does Texas Tech, don't get me wrong. But I think Gonzaga does make it back to the Final Four. I think this will be their toughest game to this point. I think it'll be a close game, probably low scoring. But I think Gonzaga just holds off Texas Tech. UCLA, Virginia Tech. This is a tough one again. This is kind of like my upset bracket. Could we have a rematch of last year's Final Four with Gonzaga and UCLA? Wouldn't that be a fun one? Or will Virginia Tech make it to the Final Four? I think we see a rematch here. I think we see UCLA in the win streak of Virginia Tech, but we'll see how they do against Gonzaga. Arizona versus Tennessee. Oh my gosh. These are such tough matchups. Why do these teams have to be so good? Arizona's been good all year long. Tennessee's been good all year long. They both beaten good teams. But dang it, I'm going to put Tennessee in there because they've been doing great recently. They've got some really big wins. Tennessee in the Final Four. I think Kansas beats Wisconsin. So our Final Four, get the S at Kansas, Gonzaga, UCLA rematch, Tennessee versus Kansas. Why did I do this to myself? This is going to be so difficult here. I mean, I've already messed up this bracket so much when I made the first, 5 picks. I probably missed 4 of the 5. So, at this point, I've gone so far. Let's just mess it up even more. I think UCLA gets revenge. They lost to Gonzaga earlier in the regular season. They lost to them on a half-court buzzer beater last year. In the Final Four, they're going to be motivated. They're going to want revenge. Some of these players are still on the same team that was there last year. The coach got a big extension, all that stuff. UCLA is going to get revenge on Gonzaga in the Final Four. And hold on a second. Yeah. This is a championship game. UCLA, the bracket kind of confused me because in the championship game it said semifinals here. And so I was like, wait a second, I thought this was a final. But I think UCLA as a 4 seed makes it to the championship. Kansas versus Tennessee, another very tough matchup to pick. Tennessee, we've talked about both these teams a lot already, who they beaten, what seed they are. I'm going to put Kansas. I'm going to have a Kansas-UCLA final. 2 iconic basketball programs fighting it out for the national championship on April 4th in New Orleans. That's closer to Kansas, by the way. UCLA going to be motivated to avenge their loss last year. Kansas looking for their first national title in I don't know how many years. They lost in the second round last year, so, looking to improve from last year. I've already got them this far. I think they do it. I think Kansas is going to be your national champion. We have a 1 seed winning the tournament. I know, so boring, but I put a 4 seed as the finalist. And I had a 12 seed up here. I had an 11 seed up here. But that's my bracket. Get a good look at it. Get a good look at it before I get my red marker or my red pen and mark it up and say, hey, all this sucks. Where should I sign? I'm going to sign it up here. Just to make you guys know that this is official and really me, I'm going to sign my name up here at the top of the bracket. Get a good look at it before you see it get shredded later. Anyways, That's my bracket. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know this is like a 30-minute video, but March Madness, you got to talk about. You guys see the bracket as it progresses, see the seedings, and yeah. There you go. That's my bracket. It's going to be probably 90% misses this year. I think it got busted in like 2 games last year. I think I had Ohio State in the Final Four, and Ohio State lost in the first round to Oral Roberts. So, yeah, this is going to fail miserably, but at least we had fun making it. Hope you have fun making your bracket, and I've got a bunch of online brackets too, but this is the one. This is my the one I actually tried in. So, yeah, got Kansas beating UCLA in the final. Let me know what you thought of this video. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Oh, my gosh, it's pointing right at the Final Four. That's so cool. Share all that stuff. Let me know in the comments who you got winning your March Madness if I haven't said that already, and have a great rest of your day.